Shalom everyone, we are in Parashat Ekev and welcome to our Zohar, weekly Zohar class. And Parashat Ekev is in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 12. Something it's a very powerful parasha. Just the reading of it, simply the reading of it, is very powerful for achieving a spiritual consciousness, but we need to concentrate on the deeper meaning of this parasha, because the whole secret of understanding what is the calling of every human being and what is the reason for our feeling of success or failure, it's all in this parasha. That's why this parasha is extremely, extremely important for each human being, in order to understand what are the rules for success and what are the rules of failure. What are the rules of achievement and fulfillment? And if you're not following these rules, you're going to be cursed with emptiness and failure. Okay? And how do we know? First of all, we go back to the original words of the parasha. And that's, you can find it in, again, the Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 12. והיה עקב תשמעון את המשפטים האלה. Following, you listen to these laws. Okay? And that's very simple. Following, listening to these laws. And then it says something that there's a grammatical structure that Moses is using through the whole book of Deuteronomy. ושמרתם ועשיתם אותם. And you will observe and do them. Observance is not doing. Doing is not observing. When you're talking about a religious tradition, seems to be that it's not. Otherwise, why is there a need for two verbs? Ushmartem, observation, vasitem, the action of doing it. Veshamar Hashem et Elok, if you observe and you do, shmartem vasitem, Veshamar Adonai Elohecha lecha et habrit, then the Lord your God will observe the covenant and the chesed and the grace and the loving kindness that he vowed to your fathers, to your ancestors. And that's verse 13. Ve'ahevcha, he will love you. Uverecha, he will bless you. Ve'irbecha, he will multiply you. Uverach pnei britnecha, he will bless the fruit of your belly and the fruit of your land, your grains and your wine and your oil, shgar alafecha, and your flocks, whatever is considered to be blissful, and your land. Okay, which means we see over here, there's a kind of a formula. What should a person do in order to achieve the feeling that he is or she is blessed? Okay, now this is a long paragraph, and it is full of iconic verbs, expressions that till today in modern Hebrew, people are using them whenever they want to point on something spiritual. They use them exactly the way Moses said these words 34 centuries ago. It's still part of regular modern daily Hebrew. And then it says, if you continue to verse 3 in chapter 8. Vaya'ancha vayarivecha, and Moses is mentioning here the time that the Israelite nation were feeding only on the manna. The manna was a kind of a divine creation that was not very physical. And he says, Vaya'ancha. And God, like the word, I think in most translation is, and God afflicted you and starved you, vayarivecha. But the word is not inflicted, but because the word vayancha, when you really read it from the spiritual aspect, it's coming from the word ani. And ani means poor. You know, poor people, they can't eat whatever they want, right? Whatever they find, whatever is available, that's what they eat. Rich people, they can choose, where do we eat today? Which restaurant do we eat today? Maybe if we want a very fancy restaurant that we have eat by, we can take an airplane, our private plane, and go to that restaurant to eat that special food. But in the desert, the Israelites had only one kind of food, the manna. So that was kind of an affliction because you felt poor, in which you don't have many choices, only the manna. And he fed you the manna that you didn't know and your ancestors didn't know. I'm reading from the same verse. In order to give you the knowledge, leman odiacha, which is a very important expression. It appears few times, and it appears about, whenever it's about giving you the knowledge, you have to understand that the word in Hebrew, da'at, and all its permutations of this word, it comes to one thing. Knowledge in Hebrew means union. And Adam knew Eve. You know what happened? She got pregnant. Which means knowledge is about a connection. Leman odiacha, to give you the knowledge. And we'll see, what kind of connection? Ki lo al halechem levado yechya adam. A human being cannot live only over bread. Of course, you need pizza, pasta, you need some chef food, sushi. What about that? No. We don't mean that when we talk about bread. Okay, so there is an expression. I can't just eat bread. I can't just live all my life just eating and feeding, and I need also some art and music and shows. It's called culture. Culture. I need to read poetry. I need to go to shows on Broadway, whatever, if not Broadway, to go to all kinds of other places where shows, you need some culture. No, that's not what it means. Lo al halechem levado yechya adam. How it continues? Not just on bread you live, not just on food. Ki al kol motza pi Hashem yechya adam. You will live. A human being should live on whatever comes from God's mouth. God's mouth? Does God have a mouth? Oh yes, it says in the beginning, and God said. How did it say? He has a mouth, no? And Rabbi Zakloria is teaching us something that is so important to understand what is the purpose of everything. We spoke about it in previous lectures of previous parashot, but here we go again. We have to understand, if we're talking about a creation, that there is a creator for it, and when we're talking about the basic understanding of monotheism, that there is an endless, infinite, unlimited creator that is only endless light of positivity, which means it's capable only of giving and sharing its bliss. That's the basic idea of monotheism. We're not worshiping any being that has our own whims, which means I don't have to apologize to that being. I don't have to follow that being, otherwise that being is going to be angry about me. This is not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob never changes because he is the endless. And how can we, finite creatures, change or have any effect over the endless? That's impossible. But because we were created in his image, I'll repeat again what I was saying in the last few parashot. What does it mean to be created in the image of the Creator? There are three aspects that we have to follow. A, if you are created in the image of the Creator, your first initial need is made of 3 points. One, you need to create, which means being bored and doing nothing will kill you. Two, you need to be independent. Being a slave of anyone or anything will also kill you and get you really feeling that something is really wrong about you. And the third one, as a creator, you must be a being of sharing and loving and kindness. Again, creativity, independence, and kindness, and loving and sharing. You need all these three in order to achieve anything significant and lasting in your life. Without that, it doesn't work. So, because of that, if we're talking about an endless perfect being that created our universe, in the beginning, and God said, let there be light, and there was a night, there was a day, one day. In the beginning, everything was created perfectly, whole, and without any flaw. One little problem. If you are created in the image of God, and you have these three needs, when everything is perfect, there's nothing to create. You cannot be independent because everything was created for you in a perfect state, and there's no one to share with. And therefore, the Creator allowed the creation to be shattered and exploded and confined and concealed. And what we see is the matrix that we are at in this game, computer game, that all humanity is in. We are playing God. We're playing Creator. Things are unfinished. Things are broken. And when we are looking for what? We are not here to eat, not bread and not sushi. And you know what? Even the best sushi, I have nothing against it. I love food. Like every normal human being loves good food, supposedly. However, if you think that the food is going to make you happy, you're not independent. The food becomes your creator. Your happiness is dependent on the food. So if you went to that amazing restaurants, right, and you didn't like the food, you come out frustrated, you missed the point. What if the food was amazing, but you just got a phone call or somebody of your companions said something that felt hurting, unrespectful? So not just that you're not, and now you're upset, so you're not independent, you're not creating your own fulfillment, okay, and you're not caring and loving unconditionally. No wonder that you're upset, because nothing can make you happy unless you follow these three concepts. But there's one more concept that we have to follow. Whatever we are here for is because we are here to receive the light. And God said, let there be light. And He saw that the light is good. We're here to receive the light of God and to be fulfilled with that light. Where is this light? It's in the food. It's in our clothing. It's in our home. It's a family life. It's in a community life. In whatever gives you pleasure. It's a good smell of a flower or perfume. Whatever gives us pleasure. This is what we're here. We're here to draw that eternal spiritual light to our lives. How do we do that? And by the way, again, we're not talking about the physical pleasure of eating good food. We're not speaking about the physical pleasure of wearing a beautiful garment or anything else. We're talking about taking that physical expression that looks physical to our brain. But we know very well, if you learn quantum physics, there's nothing physical. Whatever we experience as physical in this matrix, this computer game that we're living, that we are stuck in, it is hollow. It is a computer game. It is a big matrix that we're stuck in. But we're stuck in it because we can do something that turns the picture around and gets us to become creators with all of the aspects positive. Okay? That we just spoke about. And what is it? Says the Zohar as follows. This paragraph that is starting in the beginning of the parasha, as we said, chapter 7, verse 18, verse 12, this very, very important paragraph ends on chapter it ends later on. When it says "Ve'achata ve'savata u'verachta et Adonai Elohecha," it's chapter 8, verse 10, which is one of the biggest and most important foundations of all what the whole aspect that is called brachot. Brachot means blessings, is about. And what does it mean, a blessing? It says the Zohar like this. It is a mitzvah, and I explain what does it mean. It's a precept, but still it's not. Levarech et HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to bless God על כל מה שאכל ושתה ונהנה בעולם הזה. For whatever you eat, you drink, and you enjoy in this physical world. ואם אינו מברך, if the person does not make the blessing, נקרא גזלן לקדוש ברוך הוא, he is being called a robber of God. Can I rob God? The question is, what does it mean robbing? Okay? What is the real meaning of what's wrong with robbing? What's wrong with stealing? Why does it say, do not steal? והעמידו חברים, and I'll explain it. If we understand the concept that we just spoke about, what's wrong about stealing? What's wrong about stealing? What's wrong about it? Because stealing is part or result of being dishonest. It's a result of our lack, not just of integrity, of the right knowledge. What I mean knowledge? Connection. Okay, let me explain. If we understand that every human being comes to this world, to this physical world, to do what? Our calling is to turn and become into a magical creature. A creature that experiences everything physical on the same time being able to bring in the divine light of the creation. When it says, and God said, let there be light, we know that everything comes from the light. Everything is the energy of the light. And God saw that that light was good, says the Zohar. We know from there that every time that we feel good, it's derived from that original light. Which means, when I eat something, says the Zohar, basically, I am using the food as a tool, a vehicle, to draw in the light of God. That's called knowledge. That's a knowledge that we're talking about. Then knowledge means unifying the upper world and the lower world. Even the word mitzvah, wrongly translated into English to the word precept. There are 613 mitzvot in the Torah. Says Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in Parashat Yitro, Mount Sinai Revelation, there are 613 advices for the person how to complete his or her soul. The word mitzvah comes from the Hebrew word to team, tzevet. Whenever I do something, whatever something that is pleasure involved, if there's no pleasure, why should I do it? I have to have a consciousness, and I am, as a human being, the only creature on this planet that has the ability to live in two universes simultaneously. One, my feet on the ground, which means I do eat an apple. Okay? I eat an apple and I swallow properly and I chew it properly, whatever. But at the same time, I see the apple as part of the broken, endless universe. And when I say the blessing, when I acknowledge and when I meditate that I'm using this apple to bring in the flow of light from the upper world to this world, because I was created as a magical creature. So what the Zohar is saying, when I say the words of the blessing of thankfulness to the Creator, I'm not just saying thank you to the Creator because He does not need my thanking. But what I'm saying, I'm justifying my purpose of the creation. I'm bringing in the eternal light of the creation, the original light of the creation, and I bring it down to this world. Listen to the words. Mishum שהברכות שאדם מברך את הקדוש ברוך הוא, the blessings that the person is blessing God, באים להמשיך חיים עם קור החיים. The purpose of this blessing is not to say thank you. The purpose of these blessings is to draw life from the source of life. לשמוע הקדוש של הקדוש ברוך הוא, His holy name, the whole creation is basically under what is called His holy name. That's a matrix. It's all the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. And when I say the blessing, I have to imagine, says Rabbi Shaul, the holy Arizal, the biggest Kabbalist in the 16th century, that his teachings are the base of all Kabbalistic study, which means the whole thinking, the school of study in the last 500 years. He's saying, what does it mean a mitzvah? What does it mean a precept? It's not just that you have to do the actions written in the Torah. No. It is not only you should do the actions, but the purpose is how to draw that spiritual endless light by your action. You're not just doing the action. Like when somebody turns on the light, what does he do? You know, in most households, you go to the wall, there's a piece of plastic, you push it, and then the light turns on. But if the house is not on the grid, it's futile, it has meaningless, right? How does your house, which means your life, gets on the grid? Okay, in the physical world, you have to apply to the electric company. They have to see that you are, like, your house is wired according to the code. And then somebody comes and connects your house to the grid, right? In the spiritual world, you need to have that knowledge. That's again the knowledge the Torah is talking about. The moment your brain, your mind, and your heart is connected and wired, that will live on this amazing matrix, computer game. And the only way to connect this, what we see as our reality, it's not a reality, it's a shadow of reality. But the moment we have that knowledge, what is knowledge? Connection. That I know that this is a shadow. And when I know that my life, my body, my household, everything around me, and that I touch, nothing is just something. Just, that's physical. No, nothing is physical. Everything has a divine, spiritual dimension. Everything, and everything can activate that divine sephirah, shining light. And how would that be activated? Through my knowledge. That the fact that I know that I activate something like this. Why it's not good to steal? Because when you take somebody else's, whatever, money, asset, ideas, intellectual property, whatever you take, when you take somebody else's, you take control over somebody else's life. Would that satisfy you? No, it will not, because the light within it cannot satisfy you because you're not honest. Why do I have to be honest? Because when you're not honest, you're not a creator, okay? You're not creative. You just dwell on somebody else's creativity. You're not independent because you think that your happiness and fulfillment and successful is dependent on having somebody else's bliss in your life. Doesn't work this way. And you're not sharing. The moment you transgress that law, and here comes another law, you're not a creature of light. You're not connected to the grid, because the only light that you can connect to is the endless light of the Creator. By the way, is there enough light for all of us? All almost 8 billion people on this planet? Yes, there's endless light. So if you take the light, you see somebody else's being happy, be happy with him. He's not taking your light, never. But you want the same light. Okay, do whatever they did. Learn what they did and learn finally that through the effort and the creativity and the giving and the honesty and the loving. So what's wrong for not being honest? It says, do not steal. You're simply stupid. Do you think that cheating people is not a hard work? It is a hard work. Cheating is a very hard work. Lying is a very hard work. You have to remember who did you lie to and what kind of lies did you tell anyone and everybody in order to just not to be caught. That's a very hard work. And what do you get out of it? You get out of it shallow, empty, shell of nothingness. And that's how you explain that, like this rush before the corona, people are running like crazy to eat, to buy, to shop, to own, to get what? Empty nothingness. You'll never be satiated. You'll be cursed forever for behaving this way. Why is it that when people go around and they have the money, and they have the beauty, and they have the health, and they have the food, and they have the joy, and they're always, what's wrong with me deep inside? Why can't I be satiated? Because when you don't bless God with that connection, with that awareness, with that knowledge, you'll stay empty. You will stay empty. Because you have to meditate, says Rabbi Isaac Luria. Every action, every of the mitzvot is about teaming together the magical world of light of the Creator with the physical world. So when we overcome the physical illusion, we become creators. We create that unity. When we allow the light of God to come into everything we do, into our homes, into our family, into our community, into our food, into our clothing, into everything we own, nothing is futile. Everything is magical. When we do it with a sense of being creative, being independent, which means not being addicted to anything, and always sharing with others, giving tithing, blessing everything. It's not that God needs our blessing. No, not at all. It says, when these blessings, they draw, you have to meditate and concentrate that you draw that bliss in, because that's our calling as humans. Otherwise, we're naked apes. The problem is, the difference is, naked apes will never be depressed in a regular life. Human beings, when they connect to the futility of physical illusion, they will never be satiated. Always be hungry, running after the next illusion. You feel like you're fulfilled, you get high, and then bye. It's gone, because it's against the rules of the universe, because there's no spirituality into it, because there's no spiritual awakening and spiritual awareness and no spiritual knowledge behind it. When you do that, להריק עליו מאותו שמן העליון, and then you draw the holy anointing oil. Anointing oil. Do you know how you call that anointing oil in Hebrew? Shemen hamishcha. Mishcha What is this? That's Mashiach. What is the Mashiach? The anointed one. So how would humanity arrive to Messianic era? When every person knows how to draw that anointing oil to himself and share it with others. That is the spiritual aspect. This is why we have to make the blessings over everything we enjoy. Everything that has to be the food we eat, the house we live in, everything. Even, what is holy matrimony, marriage. There are blessings. In the wedding, there are blessings. So that these blessings, and then you connect to the spiritual union between husband and wife. It's not just kind of a hobby. Once we live together, once we don't live together, and you don't understand why we're not happy. Why is it that people are so depressed today? Because when you live off the grid, you don't have that spiritual wisdom of Kabbalah inside you, everything becomes either tradition. Do you think that God came on Mount Sinai to give us tradition, says Rabbi Ashlag, the founder of the modern movement of Kabbalah? Do you think it was about nationality? You must be out of your mind. Do you think about religion? People learn about religion from the Dark Ages, which is another political system. No, it is a way to achieve fulfillment. That's what we're after. To achieve the bliss, the anointing oil flowing through ourselves, so through our blessings, about everything we enjoy, we imagine that we bring in the endless light of God into ourselves and we share it. And we're having this knowledge and wisdom. That will cover it all. And that's how we achieve real fulfillment. Then we don't need so many clothes and so many accessories and gadgets and stuff like this. We just use whatever we need just to be happy. Thank you so much and have a great week.